Honorable Herbert Krapa, Deputy Minister for Energy from Ghana. Welcome to Abu Dhabi. The energy transition plan in Ghana, can you give us more details, please?
Our investment plan is looking to decarbonize, to reach net zero through a pathway by 2060. That means that decarbonization is top on the agenda, renewables is top on the agenda, carbon capture, utilization and storage is top on the agenda, batteries, storage is top on the agenda, energy efficiency is top on the agenda, clean cooking, electric vehicles, compressed natural gas vehicles, sustainable production also of hydrocarbon resources. These are all very much integral to the energy transition framework. We are looking to have an energy mix of 1/3 of nuclear, 1/3 of renewables, and then 1/3 of natural gas, essentially as a transition fuel for decarbonization. We're looking to raise funding for projects. We have worked with the UN Sustainable Energy for All to model our energy transition framework into an investment plan, which His Excellency the President of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo, launched on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly last week in New York, and we'll be back here with it at COP to try and pitch, develop the projects that we have in this plan for investment. Ghana still has significant deficits of hydrocarbon resources, oil and gas, and we see that as part of the energy transition. 82% of global energy dependency is fossil fuel, and the IEA says that needs to go down all the way to about 22% if we are to reach net zero. That means that we have to transition at a pace that allows for us to also utilize those resources for socioeconomic development, and also be able to fund partly the renewable and the clean technologies. And so that's how Ghana sees the energy transition. And we would, of course, bring these projects. We have a significant number of projects in this transition framework, which we'll be bringing to COP to pitch for investment. We're looking at developing about 2,000 megawatts of solar across the country, but particularly in the northern part where you have a lot of sunshine all year round. And that also means that you have to strengthen the grid to be able to wheel the electricity across the power across the country. And so the investment is looking at developing these solar projects, developing wind projects, developing floating solar projects across the country, and then strengthening the grid to be able to wheel these everywhere in Ghana. We're looking also especially at clean cooking. We're distributing improved cook stoves across the country. We're looking at bringing in investment in electric cook stoves as well. All of it using carbon brokers who take the credit, and that mitigates the cost of the cook stoves. We also have a significant plan for LPG. LPG penetration is also very significant in our transitioning from wood fuels into cleaner sources of fuel, and that work is also ongoing. We have now an LPG cylinder recirculation model with which everyone can exchange an empty canister with a filled new one, and that we hope can increase the penetration of LPG. We hope that by 2030 we should have increased renewables in our mix up to about 10%, and then of course by 2050 it should have appreciated to about 30%. But that has to be done. That can be done if we have patient capital, if we have investment, if we have blended financing, if we have grant philanthropies coming through with support. We believe that we should be able to leverage on the back of that to raise some domestic financing as well for the private sector to participate in these projects.
Speaking about this energy transition plan, it requires, as you mentioned, a lot of investments, a lot of funding, maybe internally and from foreign investors. What sort of incentives do you offer foreign investors? Tell me more about the investors and the incentives offered to bring them to Ghana, because I know there's big competition in the African continent to attract investments.
I think the investment regime is still being crafted. We have to look at the investment regime within the broader framework of the trade and investment incentives that we have available. So aside from the existing incentives that we have within the trade and investment regime, the investment in renewables, for instance, is being paid attention to in terms of the kind of incentives that we need to provide to make it more attractive for the private sector and the business community to come into. For instance, importation, the duties that are paid on the equipment, the materials, the inputs, all of those things are being looked at. Tax cuts are being looked at. And of course, net metering, producing of power and the national grid being available to store it and then taking it back when you need it. All of those regulations are being put together, and that will be part of the investment promotion that will come here at COP to pitch to the investment community.
Global warming is obviously it's international. The African continent has different challenges when we compare it to other countries. What are your expectations and hopes from COP28?
We hope that COP will deliver on all the promises that we've had. We hope that COP28, which seems like an action-packed COP, we hope that it will bring investment and projects to meet together. We hope that COP28 then now finally begins to give the global south the attention that it deserves in terms of financing in the climate matter. How much is paid on capital in Adapt the West is different from how much we pay on capital. We are looking at something at 25%, at the very least, 22, 23, 24. In other places, it is 3% interest. We need to start to talk about some of these discrepancies and inequities in the system in terms of finance. We hope that it's good news that global giants in terms of the oil and gas space are on the table at COP28. We hope investments will be on the table, and the global south, African economies especially, should also come fully prepared with good plan, which then makes investment coming into their countries easier, because nobody wants to invest where there is no preparation and there's no plan. So the responsibility goes both ways. But from everything I have seen and heard, 28 looks like that COP that is tilting and bringing the needed action. And that's really what we need if we will stop paying lip service to transitioning and actually accelerate action.